So I guess finally, the goals have dried up tonight. Even though this was a 1-1 draw, I kind of feel like compared to all the other games, this was the most fascinating game because it gave us a few answers and it gave us some more insight behind how the team is currently developing under Mauricio Pochettino. And obviously in the review today, I have to discuss the major talking points. Number one, that's going to be Nicolas Jackson. I'm going to say this, there were two games today. One with Nico in the team and one with Nico out the team. Of course, I wanted to talk about Nkunku, Ian Maatsen, Kasade, a few more performances and other things we noticed tactically as well too. So I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Of course, hit that like button if you guys actually stayed up to watch this game as well too. You're mad, man, because yeah, it's like what, nearly 4 AM right now and I don't know how I'm standing up right now. But before I continue on, today's video is brought to you by OneFootball. Now, one thing you guys hear me say quite a lot is during preseason, download OneFootball. I'm going to show you guys exactly why I keep saying this. For example, after a game like tonight's, I can go into OneFootball to get the statistical breakdown of our performance. As you guys can see, Nicolas Jackson was voted the best player of the game. I can go back to get a recap on the lineup of Newcastle from us. But of course, most importantly, the stats as well. So in terms of possession, things are quite even. In terms of deals, I felt like Newcastle edged us just a tiny little bit. Of course, we had more total shots on target. We had more total shots in general, and our accuracy has, really improved quite a lot in these regards as well too. But in terms of the tackling department, again, it was a very even battle, and it was nice to see that we can compete and we're not phased with that type of physicality. So my friends, that's an idea of some of the things you guys can do with OneFootball. Download it yourselves. You'll find a link below in the description and in the QR codes on screen too. Now to start with things, I have to discuss Nicolas Jackson. Maybe it is a bit too early for me to say this right now, but this is what I'm feeling. This is my intuition around the player. And I basically feel like Nicolas Jackson is set to become one of the surprise packages of next season, because I feel like in terms of everything the scouting department have done to get this guy secured, tick, they got things absolutely right. And I feel like Nico just brings us life to the team that we haven't necessarily had. Like, considering his price range, we signed him for around £30 million. We spent money on players that cost double and triple that value. And these guys weren't putting half the threat, danger, and quality that we're currently seeing from Nicolas Jackson. I mean, that goal, not only was it an incredibly composed finish from Jackson, but he knew exactly, how he was going to bury that opportunity. But it's the movement, man. Like, if you notice, before the goal even gets scored, he's positioned between two Newcastle centre backs, and he's in that dangerous position where, okay, both are like, who deals with him now? There's a bit of confusion, there's a bit of a crossroads, and he takes advantage of that because immediately he makes a run in between them, and by making that run, that's what makes Maatsen be able to play that pass. So it's very good and intelligent forward play, and that's one of the best things that he's actually shown, even since he had that crazy end of the season last season with Villarreal. And I really feel like a guy that can move, that's an outlet for the team. Intelligent, like we were seeing, remember, on the transition or counter attacks, how this guy is carving his runs because he has that type of explosiveness to be able to get past most defenders, which is great to see. But on top of that too, I think one thing I really like about Nico is the overall composure in his game, right? The overall build up, the overall ability to keep and retain possession. There was a nice moment in that game where he got past two players down that right hand side and the ball was still magically glued to his foot. I saw Nico leading the press. He won a recovery in the game to kickstart a counter attack. I like how this guy is, of course, winning free kicks for the team. He's just an amazing outlet. And the only disappointment I'd say is that I didn't see enough link up between him and Nkunku. But I feel like with some more game time, if these guys have more opportunities to get used to each other, that will quickly change just like that. But for me, Nicolas Jackson's probably been our best player this preseason. Incredibly dangerous, and I'm just really happy that we've signed a great centre forward. But what is any great centre forward without their supporting cast? And I think one of the standout performers was Ian Maatsen, because he's really showing how versatile he is. Now in today's game, we played on the right hand side and he was able to cut in. If you guys are surprised by this, one thing I'd like to reiterate quite a lot is that even when he was playing in Cobham, Maatsen would play games as a 10. He'd play in midfield, he'd play on the left hand side, further up, and defensively too. The guy is just a footballer. He's a great overall football player. And that reverse ball behind, that through ball to find Nicolas Jackson, do you understand how powerfully weighted that pass was? Because Nico didn't have to take another touch. It was a powerfully weighted through ball where Nico didn't have to change his direction or nothing like that. It just set him up beautifully for that first time finish, and that type of quality makes a massive difference. But on top of that, I like the intelligence Maatsen was showing when he did cut inside and revert inside, when he's making those infield runs and finding those infield positions. Of course, he was able to also help Nico have the opportunities to make those runs in behind, because some of the positioning you'd see for Maatsen, that is pinning back the opposition Newcastle defender, and that's creating an opportunity for Nico to make a run in behind. So little details like that I liked. His retention, the counter-attacking threat, I thought was a good performance. And again, it's going to be very hard for Mauricio because Ben, Kukurea, Maatsen, we got Lewis Hall who didn't even get any game time today. We got some quality down that left hand side, but not all of these guys can stay. But there's one thing I can say, I feel like Ian Maatsen is coming and he's really showing, listen, I am ready now to take the mantle. I'm ready to play for this team. And again, he's been another standout performer throughout pre-season. So nice game from Ian. And I guess this segues in quite nicely so we can discuss some of the, details around our game today. Now, it really was a game of two halves. In the first half, it was more of like, I would say, a 4-1-4-1 in particular. And that's because in Nkunku, a lot of times, was required to actually move a bit deeper to drop into midfield. Now, I think one thing that Newcastle had maybe a bit more in the first half was a bit of like a more physical advantage. They were very aggressive in that game. And I was a little bit concerned about how he'd cope against like strong, aggressive opposition. But these are the games that get you ready now for the Premier League season. And I like our reaction. Listen, we didn't dominate in the physical department. And in a game like this today, I was thinking, if I had Caicedo playing for me, that makes a difference. And I look at the goal that we conceded. Of course, Kukurea's positioning wasn't amazing. But I feel like Enzo Fernandez, of course, got beat by Anthony Gordon. And that's what allowed the attack to happen. If Caicedo was in that same position where Enzo was, Caicedo's not getting done like that, and I don't see us, of course, conceding possession in an area of the field like that. So I think we still have to go on the market. This squad still needs strengthening for sure, and I hope that we get these reinforcements soon. Because listen, Pochettino needs to get help from the board right now. The season's coming very, very soon, and we need a bit more if we have any hopes of getting Champions League football now for next season. Regardless though, one thing the team showed was tenacity, and I like the tactical game plan. It was all about keeping ourselves very compact in the middle, using our mid-block. If you look at the positions of our defensive line, midfield line and defensive line, the gap's like 25 yards in between. We're a very compact unit, and we immediately made things hard for Newcastle to play through us. They only found opportunities from the flanks, and of course they took it when Almiron scored, and that was one of the few moments where Anthony Gordon was able to influence the game from a more central position. But regardless, we looked strong off the ball. I was quite impressed by that, and we had very nice counter-attacking situations and moments. Of course, in the second half, it's a bit of a different game. It was more about maybe Nkunku playing up front. At times, he was a bit isolated from the rest of his teammates, and it gets you thinking, okay, this is why we're after a guy like Kudus. Like, we need another link player in the team. We need a hybrid player that can move out wide on the right-hand side. I can also play as an 8 in the team. So, again, Caicedo, Kudus, two important players we must secure in the next week. Even then, when we added more, numbers in midfield by becoming more of like a 4-3-3 team, we were able to keep the ball a lot better and playing Newcastle's half more than we did in the first half, where our main threats were on the counter-attack and the transition. So we're seeing a nice adaptable team that is strong on the counter, that's looking decent off the board as well too. And with the few more additions, I feel a bit more optimistic now for next season. But before I move on from talking about some of these tactical things, I want to just quickly mention that goal we scored. A lovely piece of like vertical football where we looked to play forwards quickly. And the move kick-started with Humphries, of course, taking out like 2 Newcastle players with a nice ball between the lines. Versatility receives, he carries it forwards. He then finds Maatsen between the lines, and then instantly that movement from Nicolas Jackson, first time through ball and behind by Maatsen. It was just a nice, incisive, quick counter-attack. And I just like how more threatening we're looking now. You're looking at the pace that Mudrik's providing down that left-hand side. Actually able to go 1v1. You've seen the ball glued to his foot. He's looking quite promising when he has that type of space afforded to him. And again, I'm seeing certain synergies and, understandings and link-ups being created now. And that really only comes when the players not only complement playing together, but also complement playing in the system. But to end things, my friends, this was a promising performance. I'm liking how we're looking stronger tactically. I'm liking how the attack has a bit more synergy right now. I'm liking the team balance and team shape. I've been saying this a lot, and I'm kind of reflecting Pochettino, but more signings are definitely needed, because even though we have some talent, again, can we necessarily rely upon using this same squad without any more additions now for next season? I don't think so. I thought Casade, very promising. I'd be curious to see him actually remain with us if that was a possibility, but I wouldn't be surprised too if he felt like, okay, one more loan, but you're the star player playing one of the top leagues. That could be the thing you need to come back for next season ready. Wouldn't be surprised by that. Chukwuemeka is another example as well too. I'm liking how he's a bit more expressive now in terms of, taking the game onto opponents, carrying it forwards, half turns as well too. But also I think in terms of some of the senior performances, I haven't been captured yet by Cucurella or Raheem Sterling. I feel like Sterling's going to be a lot of responsibility that this team is going to turn to him for. And I feel like, can I necessarily get that feeling of consistency from him? I'm going to keep an open mind some more, but second half I wanted a little bit more from Raheem. But regardless, my friends, they're my thoughts and opinions. Share yours. How do you feel about this game? And what's your biggest takeaway from the game tonight? Let us all know. On that note, I'm Nini FC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.